Robots are moving from behind fixed and caged locations to workstations alongside human workers. Not to mention moving from heavy duty industrial applications to actions like providing assistance and even augmenting skills. So today we have collaborative robots called Cobots, and they're redefining human robot relationships across the manufacturing industry. Hello everyone, welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast where we talk about the ever evolving tech space, and I'm your host Priya Dialani. Now, cobots are widely employed in various industries such as life science, automotive, manufacturing, electronics, aerospace, packaging, plastics, healthcare. The list is never ending. For many of these businesses, the capacity to maintain a lucrative man machine shared workplace can provide a considerable competitive edge. Now, today we'll be talking more on cobots, and to give more insights on it, let's welcome Mr. Satish Shukla, co founder of Addverb. Hi, Satish, how are you doing?
Hi, Priya. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Thank you so much. Likewise, it's a pleasure to have you with us, you on our podcast. So, let's start by telling our listeners what exactly Adverb is. And I think we are going to talk about cobots. And I am sure it definitely plays an important role in the cobots industry. So, if you can tell us about the organization and its specialization also.
Sure. So, with the vision of touching lives by pioneering human-robot collaboration, we started Adverb in June 2016. So earlier, there are four co-founders, and all of us used to work in Asian Paints before starting Adverb. And there we were setting up some of the most automated factories for Asian Paints, and that's where our first interaction with technology in our professional lives happened. So subsequently, based on that experience, we felt that these kind of technologies would be required in India as well. Technologies like automated storage and retrieval systems, robotics, collaborative robots, autonomous mobile robots, enterprise software like warehouse management system, warehouse control system. And with this vision, we started Adverb. So basically, Adverb is a robotics company that helps clients automate their factories and warehouses and helps them move material from one place to another with ease with the help of robotics and automation systems. So that's what we essentially do. Today, we have two manufacturing facilities, one in Noida and one in Greater Noida. Combined together, we have one of the largest manufacturing capability for mobile robots in the world. We have a workforce of 900 plus adverbians, as we call them, and our offices are spread across Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, Dubai, Europe, US, and obviously we have offices in India. We have two software development centers, one in Noida and one in Pune. So this is about Adverb.
Great, quite impressive, I must say, Satish, and I'm glad to know that Adverb has that sort of manufacturing capabilities. It stands number one in the world in terms of your manufacturing unit. So I'm glad to know that. I think, we spoke about the company, we would also want to know more about you. So I think you have more extensive experience in order picking technologies or industrial IoT solutions, robotics solutions, and technologies related to Industry 4.0. So, if you could tell us more about yourself or your journey till date, and what exactly probably triggered you to start or join Adverb.
Sure. So I did my MBA in HR from TISS. So I first did my engineering in computer science, and then I did my MBA in HR. And then I joined Asian Paints from campus. In Asian Paints, I moved from HR into production. So this is a kind of movement that people usually don't opt for. And then in production, I got a hands-on experience with different automation technologies. From there, along with my colleagues, as I mentioned, we got the idea to start on our own. So there were few triggers that were taking place at that point of time in India. One, e-commerce was spreading like anything. So Flipkart was a unicorn by then. This is around 2016-17. Amazon had entered into India, and even e-commerce penetration was happening in tier 2, tier 3 cities. Geo had already given free data to everyone, and people were now buying from their phones, and e-commerce was not only limited to their laptops. Subsequently, organized retail was also expanding. This was a time when erstwhile Big Bazaar and Reliance Fresh were expanding into tier 2, tier 3 towns and cities. Subsequently, there was a push for Make in India as well by the government, and there was also a push for Startup India. And we felt that the time was right, that because of these changes, there will be bigger box sizes. When I say box sizes, I mean bigger warehouses. And there will also be a big demand for factories to cater to the pent up consumer demand. And these factories would also require automation. So subsequently, these were the triggers which pushed us to start Adverb. And we had, as you mentioned, I personally had extensive experience in order picking, MES systems, warehouse management system, and warehouse control system. And so our journey has been very different from any other robotics and automation company in the whole world, because earlier we were users, and then we were users of these technologies during our time at Asian Paints, and then we traveled from being a user to becoming a creator. So that helped us to build features into our products and our solution that would help in easy deployment. So we always knew that deploying any automation solution requires time. Ramping up is a painful process. So that's why we built features, we built products that were easy to deploy, easy to integrate, and would not take so much time for a ramp up, and would also incorporate flexibility so that whenever there is a change in the process, the product and the software could incorporate that. That helped us to also conceptualize our product portfolio. So if you see, Adverb is the only company in the world which has a fixed automation portfolio and a flexible automation portfolio. So fixed automation portfolio comprises of automation systems that require fixed infrastructure like racks, tracks, etc. So we have our own automated storage and retrieval system. We have our own crane-based automated storage and retrieval system. We build our own conveyors. We build our own rail-guided vehicle that helps in movement and storage of material. Now, when we come to flexible automation system, we have our own autonomous mobile robots. We have our own sorting robots. We have our own collaborative robots. So this flexible automation system does not require any infrastructure. So you can just put an AMR into your factory and a warehouse, and it will start working on its own. So this product evolution, our experience in our earlier avatar, helped us to conceptualize this product categories, and that helped us to win a lot of customers, to win a lot of clients, and also helped us to grow very fast. So that is our experience of building our products using our experience from a past organization.
Great, and I must say your journey has been quite inspiring, Satish. I think many are very skeptical about switching fields, but I hope our listeners draw some inspiration from your journey. And also, I'm glad to know that Adverb is the only company in the world with having the fixed and flexible automation portfolio. I think that definitely adds an edge towards the services and the overall company. Now, while we're talking about cobots, I think the latest advancement in the robotics technology, and it's kind of changing the world of automation as well. So I think, like I mentioned earlier, Cobot is derived from a collaborative robot world. So I think large manufacturers have benefited from automation for decades by adopting traditional industrial robots. However, unlike smaller firms which have low volume or high mix manufacturing, these massive, expensive, and complex robots are built for high volume and unchanging production processes. So, I mean, I want to understand from you what sets cobots different from the traditional industrial robots. Why, the collaborative robot? What exactly it means, and how it is different from the other robots?
Sure. So you've captured the essence of Cobot very beautifully. So Cobot is basically a collaborative robot, right? If we have to break that word, it will be a collaborative robot. So what does that mean? That essentially means human robot interaction, right? So collaboration between a human and a robot. So this implies that basically any robot that is interacting directly with humans, either intellectually or in physical space, that is assisting or augmenting human capabilities, will be called a robot, right? So collaborative robots are essentially very much like industrial robots, but with a critical difference that it is much more lightweight or slim, as we would call it casually, has more safety features. So there are multiple torque sensors. There are different layers of safety programs built through software. There are different safety mechanisms, safety sensors built into this cobot. They have soft padding and they have round structures, and they would not have sharp edges that could pinch a human. And then they would also be enabled. It would be easy to program these cobots with a simple touch screen interface, or today also with just with your basic movements you could teach these cobots so that they can perform a task. So as you mentioned, that large scale enterprises have already been using robots, right? Industrial robots. So industrial robot is very good for performing what we call the 3D tasks, which is dull, dirty and dangerous. So if you have to pick and place a heavy object from one point to another, which is repetitive in nature, right? Now it's a dull task and it's a dangerous task. If you are picking up 50 kg a day for 8 hours, obviously it is going to have an impact on the body of the picker, right? If you have to perform a palletization operation where you have to put cartons on pallets, if you have to do this task for 8 hours, it's going to have an impact on your well-being as well, whomsoever is performing this task. So that's where industrial robots have been in use, where I would say the mix or the count of SKUs or the variety of products has been less, but the scale has been large, right? And that's where you see that one of the earliest adopter of industrial robots were automotive industries, right? Now with collaborative robots, as you have mentioned, the opportunity or avenue for small businesses to adopt technology also opens up, because typically these cobots are lightweight, they are very easy to program, and they require very small space footprint. So you don't need to take up huge amount of real estate, which is very costly in India, to install automation. You can install automation with the help of cobot in a very small footprint, right? In a very small space. Plus, these cobots are very easy to teach. So your deployment time goes drastically down. With the help of different technologies, these cobots can perform different tasks. So you do not need a specialized robot for each kind of task. So these are some of the things that set a cobot apart from an industrial robot.
Great. I think that makes a lot of sense. And thank you for helping us with the explanation of each type of robots. And yes, I think with the advantages or the functionalities that you spoke about cobots, I think the small businesses can tap onto and leverage the capabilities of cobots and probably enhance their business functions. And I think like you mentioned that cobots are majorly that you are interacting with humans. Like those cobots are interacting with humans, and it's kind of helping them augment the skills of humans. They don't have to continuously tied up with manual or tedious tasks. But previously I think working with robots meant keeping them at a distance. But today I think specially designed robots can operate mere inches away from humans. And when we're talking about cobots, I think until this point it has predominantly concentrated on singular functionalities, like aiding workers in tasks such as lifting and packaging products. I think that's what you mentioned also in your response. But I think with emerging technologies like AI and machine learning, they are bringing forth numerous advantages for cobots and helping make advancements in the overall robotics field. So what do you think is the role of AI or machine learning advancing the capabilities of a cobot?
Sure. So I'll first take an example that you yourself said, that industrial robots would operate in a particular environment, and that's very correct. They would typically operate in a cage. And if you would open the cage, the robot would stop working, right? Now, with the help of different features that I was talking about, where you have force torque sensing, or you have safety brakes, you have functional safety through software, you can build features where the robot will stop immediately when there is an impact, right? It would stop in less than 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter. There would be a target response time of 2 milliseconds or 1 millisecond, right? So this would enable a robot to work side by side with a human operator or a worker. Now, so that's the level of safety that we are talking about. Plus the material that I was talking about, the design of the robot. See, if it has to work side by side with a human, it cannot look intimidating. So that's why you will see the design of cobot, and I would call them really beautiful from a designer's point of view. These cobots are really beautiful, very aesthetic. you would like to touch them, you would like to feel them, and you would really love to work with them. They would not look like their industrial counterpart robots, which sort of have those very sharp designs, could hurt. And that's where even material like carbon fiber, etc., comes in. When there is an impact, you will feel the touch, but it's not going to hurt you in any way and form. So that's the basic safety features that are built into a cobot. And obviously it's very lightweight, and that's why you don't need a cage or a special operating environment for cobots. Now, talking about different applications, so what has happened is, we have see, what we always tell our customers, or what I always tell others: in order to use technology, you require two things: pragmatism and imagination. And same goes for using cobot in different applications as well. So we have typically seen cobot applications only in shop floors and factories, but I'll tell you very, very creative examples. So there was this company in Europe which was building ATM machines. Now the soft, so this is again, so that's why I'll again go back to the definition that I first gave, that a cobot could not only be interacting with human in a physical space, but it also could be interacting with human in an intellectual space, right? So there was this team which was building an ATM machine, and once they had built the software, they required testers. So we all know the testing mechanism of any software, right? You write different use cases, you perform those use cases. So now they wanted to do physical testing of ATM machine, where they wanted to try different scenarios of what happens when somebody inserts a card, what happens when somebody writes wrong ATM passwords, how many times ATM passwords which are wrong will be accepted, etc. So they also used a collaborative robot, right? So the cobot would perform all these tasks on the ATM, and then for all night, and then they would come in the morning and they would just check the results of all the use cases that were performed by the cobot. So you can see here also there is a very interesting collaboration that is happening between human and the cobot, which is not only limited to physical domain, but is also an intellectual collaboration. So there has to be, as I said, pragmatism and imagination to create multiple types of use cases, which will not only be limited to manufacturing. Right now, talking about different technologies. So what has happened, there were so technologies like artificial intelligence or machine learning, they were being used for almost a decade now. Even there were many examples of industrial deployment of such technologies. But what has happened is, with technologies like LLMs, right, large language model, and specifically with the onset of chat GPT, now everybody has started to understand what AI is. Earlier, it was very difficult to explain somebody what is AI, what is machine learning. But now, even people who do not have a technical background sort of understand what is AI. They do understand how machines are learning. So, very interesting ways in which these technologies could be integrated with Cobot, right? Because now a lot of people are having this understanding. You could integrate an LLM with a Cobot. So what will happen is this will give Cobot, which is a physical agent of AI, conversational capabilities. So imagine today you still have to use a touch interface and a simple drag and drop interface to teach the Cobot, right? But if LLMs are integrated with Cobot, you could teach the Cobot with natural language, right? So you could give them command and they would perform those tasks, and they would learn how to perform those tasks. So that will unlock next level of productivity in cobots, right? When it becomes really that simple. Second, these cobots, another use cases where I'm seeing AI and ML being integrated with cobots is, there are many applications where these cobots are integrated with mobile robots, and then with the help of computer vision, they can change their end of arm tooling, which is basically gripper, and perform picking operations by going from one station to another. They can also perform quality inspection operations of different components that have been built. So these are different ways in which technologies can be integrated to enhance the functioning of a cobot. I can really tell you, cobot, AI, and IoT, these technologies can help to build completely operatorless tool rooms. So what would happen is, imagine a manufacturing excellence system, an MES software, which is controlling different machines like a lathe machine or a VMC machine or a CNC machine. And a cobot mounted on a mobile robot can go and fit the job in a lathe, which will be performed by the MES. Once the job has been completed, the MES, the machine communicates via IoT with the MES that the job is done. The cobot on mobile robot can go pick up the job, take it to a vision station where through computer vision, the quality of the job can be assessed. And then the next job could be put on the lathe machine. So this is a very good example of a lights out tool room that will be implemented very soon with the help of cobots.
Very well explained, Satish, and it was quite thought provoking. And I guess anybody would have a beautiful and a aesthetic robot at their workplaces. I mean, I would definitely want one. And of course, with the benefits and features that you explain, and if you're integrating artificial intelligence, I think it will definitely unlock the next level of productivity. And of course, we are yet to see the combination of cobot, AI, and IoT. And in the future, I think in the coming years, we might witness that, and it can transform the overall face of robotics. So I think when you're talking about cobots, it's one of the leading smart factory technologies that can help increase the competitiveness and efficiency of a global industry business. In contrast to typical robot designs, like you mentioned, cobots are lightweight, they're they're beautiful, they're aesthetic, and also I think they're easily programmable. So apart from its primary role in collaborating with people to improve production and automation, it's majorly focused on improving all of these safely and cost effectively as well. So it would be great if you could share some real world examples or case studies of how Adverb has impacted a client's business efficiency through their cobots.
Sure. So just capturing, just essentially capturing what you said. So a cobot basically scores on an industrial robot, as you said, on safety, on space requirement, on time to deploy, and on flexibility in deployment. Right. So
Right.
you could be using the same cobot to perform a pick and place operation, and then you could also be using the same cobot to perform a palletizing operation. We have used cobots for different type of applications. One of the application that is very interesting where we have used a cobot is performing remote ultrasound. So this was during COVID, where we developed a solution, I would say, where so in COVID, you understand that doctors, not even doctors, but even entire humanity lost its human touch per se, right? You had to maintain social distancing, which was later called physical distancing and not social distancing. So obviously, you could not touch other people. This virus was spreading through touch if you come in contact with somebody who was infected. So, but then a doctor had to do ultrasound, right? If there is a patient who comes and requires that an ultrasound has to be done, they need to do it, and there was no option for doctors, but we had to protect them, right? It was very important that somebody thinks about them as well. So that's where we developed a product or a solution, is what I would call, where doctors would be able to do a remote ultrasound with the help of a cobot. So they would be able to control the cobot with a haptic device, and this haptic device would enable them to have the feedback as well. So when you're doing ultrasound, it becomes very important to do your motions, to take feedback from the patient, to perform your hand movements. So that's where they would get complete feedback from the haptic device. And then with the haptic device, they would be able to control the cobot as well, which had an end tool which would actually perform the ultrasound. So this would protect the doctors from not coming in contact with patients, and it would be beneficial for both patient and doctor, because as you understand, the lower the amount of exposure, the lower the probability of infection. So this is one very unique solution. See, a lot of times you just don't want to measure your solution in terms of efficiency, productivity. As an industrial automation company, as a robotics company, we do that all the time, but sometimes you really want to build solutions that create a direct impact, and this is a solution which we are very proud of, where with the help of a cobot, we feel we were able to contribute in the life of the patient and the doctor.
This example was jaw dropping, and thank you for actually putting up this example, because I think I recently came across this news in an article where a Chinese doctor performed a remote robotic surgery. Is it similar to something what you said right now?
So our process, if you see, was non surgical in nature. But
Hmm.
yeah, so the doctor would not need to be present in that room. The
Right.
doctor could be present in any other room or even any other geographical location. The
Okay.
cobot would be there with the entire ultrasound apparatus, and the cobot would perform the ultrasound. So we are not present in any invasive healthcare.
Mhm.
We only look at healthcare solutions which are non-invasive in nature, and this is
Right.
the solution that we developed. So conceptually, this was similar to that, but
Mhm.
it was non-invasive in nature to that extent that there was no surgery that was being performed.
Understood. Understood. So, how do you deal with? Since this is related to a healthcare example and a use case, what are the responses or the you receive from patients? Because I'm not sure how people are willingly ready to accept like a cobot performing an invasive surgery, or probably even doing an ultrasound. So, have you
Yeah,
come?
we did this solution development along with AIMS and IIT Delhi.
Okay.
So that's where we got a lot of support from them as well.
Great.
And see, this was done at the time of COVID, where uh, people people actually uh, said that okay, if there is low exposure, no touch, no physical
Yeah.
touch, it's good, right?
Right.
That was a very different time.
Hmm.
Second, what I also feel today, uh, at least in urban cities in India, the resistance to use of robots in healthcare from a
Hmm.
people point of view has gone significantly down. Now, this is my personal opinion, but
Right.
I see a lot of hospitals today. To take an example, earlier there was a time when I joined Asian Paints. I clearly remember there used to. So I would, in my first stint in HR, I would do this uh, insurance renewal for my
Mm-hmm.
factory employees,
Right,
the
right.
GMC and GPA. So in the insurance renewal, I remember there was a co-pay clause, which
Hmm.
basically meant that if I remember right, which basically meant that if there is a robotic surgery, some amount of expense would need to be uh, taken up by the employee. And the insurance company will only provide some amount of expense. And I
Right.
clearly remember at that point of time, we had a discussion. Okay, most of the people here get their treatment done in this city of Rohtak. There is no robotic surgery here.
Hmm.
This clause is not going to affect us, etc., etc. And even in Delhi, there are only certain hospitals like Medanta which have a robotic surgery. But today, if I go out, so we are based out of Noida, and when we go out of Noida, there are mostly all the hospitals that are there in Noida and Greater Noida, they are advertising in a big way about robotic surgeries.
Okay.
And a lot of time people prefer robotic surgeries because of the accuracy that it brings, because of the precision that it brings, right? So at least in urban centers, there is a big drive towards automation, and people are not hesitant that much about using robots. The Da Vinci robot has got a lot of acceptance. I know all the hospital chains in Noida, Greater Noida are using these and advertising these like anything. But
Mhm.
yeah, you're right. Probably it will take some more time for people to gain acceptance of cobots in healthcare domain specifically.
Right, right. But apart from this, are there any other challenges when it comes to deploying cobots, and are there any ways people can overcome them? Not just particularly about healthcare, but across different industries, maybe.
Yeah, so there we have to identify. So let's say I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say if we have to do picking. So whenever any person is planning to implement cobots, right? So they will first have to identify the process that they want to automate. Then they will have to see how a human does that process, identify the behaviors that they would want to automate, and do a proper risk assessment of this activity. Subsequently, this exercise will help them understand whether they want to go for automation or not, and will also unlock a lot of insights for them wherever they want productivity gains, and they are not very sure of their flow, their layout, their uh, their material flow, and they feel that it could keep on changing. So that's where they should go for automation, and they should go for automation with cobots. And we help customers do this. Sometimes not using this structured approach creates challenges for customers in terms of visualizing whether they can go for automation solutions like cobot or not.
Right. Yeah, I think that that definitely makes sense. And I'm also believing that there will be more research and more development into commercial applications, and we'll witness more developments around this area. So industries across the spectrum are, actively exploring and piloting use cases targeting the automation of tasks that were previously deemed unfeasible. And I think cobots here definitely play a very important role in terms of how they can redefine automation. Having said that, what are certain trends that you predict in the cobot space that might happen in the coming years?
Sure. So as you said that many industries would be using cobots, I totally agree to it. So the market for cobot globally will be a 10 billion plus market in next 5 years. So that's the kind of adoption that we are going to see globally. Since we are into material handling space, we are present into material handling space extensively. We are into material handling automation. Some of the trends that I see really going forward in our field is, so if you see in warehouses and factories, all the tasks which are related to movement of material have been automated to a very large extent. So there are robots that can move material from different heights. There are robots and automation systems that can move material from point A to point B. There are robots that can even do secondary and tertiary packaging, right? Palletization, etc. But what has not been automated is picking. And in any warehouse or factory, if you see, picking is the most labor intensive activity. So let's say if I have a warehouse, almost 50 to 60% of my resources would be involved in picking operation. So that's where I see a lot of applications of cobots in picking operations, and in primary packaging operations, in quality inspection operations. And they will be integrated with, as I said, mobile robots, so that they could go from one picking station to another picking station. I also visualize completely flexible manufacturing lines where these cobots will be mounted on mobile robots, and these manufacturing stations or assembly stations will keep on changing depending on the workload. Uh, I also see a lot of application of cobots in electronic assembly. So that's an area where you require repetition and precise quality, right? You don't want a component to be placed even here or there by less than 1 mm, because these electronic components would be used in automotives, etc., and you don't want them to go wrong when a car is running. So because of the precision that is required in electronic industry, you would definitely see a lot of cobot applications in electronic assembly. These are some of the uh, applications that we will see in very near future.
Well, yes, definitely. I think the integration of artificial intelligence and cobots could potentially foster enhanced collaboration between humans and machines, which will more boost efficiency and, I think boost the confidence also. So these versatile cobots assist humans by undertaking repetitive manual tasks and enhancing safety measures, redefining data analysis and demand prediction. So ultimately, this technology aims to undertake tasks probably beyond human capability and therefore significantly impacting the global supply chain operations. Well, thank you so much, Satish. It was a pleasure having you with us on a podcast. I think we spoke, we gained some immaculate insights around. Cobots and its impact and how are they different from the traditional robots, and what are certain things that probably people can keep in mind when deploying cobots. So thank you so much for your time and effort.
Thank you, Priya, for having me on your show.
Thank you so much. So, this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast. You can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.